We wanted to have a joint session so that we could just tell you what the design, the thesis process, the whole thing entails. There are multiple parts that you need to do it, and it is not something that is a very easy thing to do. It is going to be completely different from how you have gone through your own architectural designs. This is way beyond anything else. Normally, you will have gone through practical training in an office before doing your thesis. So you have a fairly good idea of what the thesis entails. Unfortunately, you cannot have that. So this is just to give you an update on what the thesis is and what we expect out of you. Some guidelines and what our expectations. All right. So thesis is one of the main project that is going to integrate everything that you have learned from first year till your fourth year. It will not just be your design, but it will include your services, your structures, your theory of architecture, your history of architecture. It is going to include everything in this. All right. It begins with a problem and it ends at finding a solution to that problem. So you have to, at the start of it, you have to state what your problem is, and end of it, you have to find a solution, a design solution to that. This is not going to be an easy task. You have to keep working at it day in and day out. If necessary, you have to contact us every day or whatever is necessary. Please do not always wait for a formal class if you get stuck. Do not waste time. This semester is going to be short as it is. Okay. Now, there is going to be a lot of research work that you will have to do, and there will be a lot of evaluations and re-evaluations. And as you go along, all these research and evaluations will prove that your solution is right. Now, as we give you the evaluations, we will be giving you a lot of feedback and a lot of criticisms. The criticisms does not mean that you are wrong. Criticisms only means that you have to find justifications or better justifications for your proposals. If you are not able to find justifications for your proposals after we give the criticism, then you have to change it. Just a criticism doesn't mean you simply go ahead and change your whole design. You need to find justifications. All right. Now, among some of you, I do not know if all of you are there, but I know at least some of you are having problems with regard to site selection and justification of that site. Now, for those who have a live project, it's great. You do not have to justify the selection of your site because somebody has already justified it. But for those for whom it is not a live site, it is a hypothetical project, then you need to find at least two possible alternatives to your site. If you can find three, it's great. Okay. Now, when you have the site proposal, the prospective sites, you need to point out the favorable and the unfavorable aspects briefly, and you need to describe each of the favorable and the unfavorable, and then compare them. There is a particular table you can use. We will share it by either end of today or maybe tomorrow. That table, you need to mark the good points and the bad points of each site on a scale of 1 to 4. And at the end of the table, you add up the numbers, and the numbers will give you which site is the best for that particular project. All right. Now, there are aims and objectives that you need to keep in mind as you go along. Okay. Now, there are two types of objectives that you have to keep in mind, and you need to keep it in mind, those two types of objectives. You cannot lose these two types of objectives. You cannot lose sight of them. Now, the first type of objective is for your research study. Now, your research study includes your case studies, your literature studies, your local laws, your NBC, everything. This, this objective gives you what you are going to learn from your research. Okay. The second type is for the proposed design and what we want to achieve in the structure, in the structure you design. It does not mean the beauty of the structure. It means the functions of the structure. All right. We were discussing what are the two types of objectives are, and Tahir sir gave a very, very good example that made me understand these two different objectives very easily. So I will just invite him to give his example. Sir, up kar dijiye, sir. That example you gave is very interesting and it is very apt, sir. Please. आ जाइए सर.
So, like sir told you that there are two types of objectives. The first type is whatever you already done or achieved in your thesis seminar, in your research proposal. And another one is related to your design. So when we were discussing, I said to Arvindo sir that for an example, we are going to cook a biryani. So there are two types of objectives for this thing. One, when we are proposing that we are going to, my aim is I want to cook a biryani. So there are several objectives for this proposal. One is I have to study about the different types of rice for biryani. I have to study about different type of masala. I have to study about different type of vessels, cooking procedures, and different type of like stoves and other things. So these are my objectives from which I will achieve my aim. My aim is to cook a good biryani. So I have to. These are my objective 4, 5, 6, and my final objective is I have to cook the biryani. This is the aim is will become the final objective. So this is the first type of objective which you already achieved during your thesis seminar in your research proposal. You wrote there whatever you want to achieve by your research proposal, by your research study actually. And the second type of objective is whatever you want to achieve through your final outcome, final design. Like by biryani, after cooking that biryani, the objective, like I want to invite my friends to eat that biryani. I want to sell that biryani, or I want to distribute that biryani to our peoples. So this is the second type of objective. So for your design, you have to mention your objective, whatever you want to achieve through your final outcome. One is your objectives for your research study, whatever you wrote in your research proposal. And second is whatever you want to achieve through your design, your final outcome actually. You want to achieve sustainability through your design. You want to achieve you want to recycle waste by your design. You want to maybe you
serve the community,
community
in some way,
in some different ways. It will become your second type of objectives, which is for your design actually.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
This is okay.
And the next part of your thing that we wanted to discuss today is about your design philosophy. Now, design philosophy, there can be two types of design philosophy. Okay. One philosophy is you can take directly from the person who is living or dead, like of old, our seniors, our architects who have been there, like Le Corbusier or Frank Lloyd Wright or any one of them. For example, if we can take that, what is that? Form follows function. We can take form follows function. That is a very small phrase, but that can be our design philosophy. Or you can have your own design philosophy. Please do not believe that you cannot have your own design philosophy. You are here in this college, in this education, to form your own design philosophies inspired by the design masters, the master architects. So
maybe inspired by nature also.
it can be inspired by nature also. It can be inspired by anything in the world. But you need to have your own design philosophies, or you need to take a design philosophy from an existing architect. Now, when you're doing it, doesn't mean that you will not use a design philosophy you may have used in your first year, second year, or third year, or fourth year. If you have used a design philosophy, you can reuse it, but you may have to change it a bit so that it is suitable for your current project. All right. Now, at the start of the design process, you have to state your design philosophy, and all our feedback is going to be based on that. Your design philosophy cannot be an essay. It should be no more than 3 sentences. Our design discussions will be keeping in mind your design philosophy, and our feedback will be based on that, if you're following your philosophy or not. You cannot say form follows function and then make a postmodern building. Please do not do that. So you have to be very careful in that. Now, a note, this is something that you need to learn, or you need to put into your project as you go along. One is, all local laws have to be followed. All the bylaws have to be followed, including the NBC guidelines. Now, as you go along, sometimes you will find that the same topic is covered by both the local bylaws and the NBC. What it means is, I will just give one example. Okay, the example is that near to your site or near to your building, there might be a power line running through that. Now, your local law may say that you have to leave a gap of horizontally 3 meters and vertically 5 meters, while the NBC can say it is 6 meters and 10 meters. So in this situation, the law that you will follow is whichever law is more rigorous, not the law that gives you relaxation. Okay. And also at the same time, what we will do in the next 2-3 days is we will give you a set of guidelines that are to be followed for your thesis process. This whole semester process, we will break it up into smaller parts that you have to achieve. Now, as you go along, these smaller parts are going to be very easy to achieve if you actually follow them. If you don't follow them, it is going to be very difficult for you to complete your thesis. All right.